Hi guys, so today we are going to be talking about Canada. Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. My name is daneishacummins and I am new to the tube. I create lifestyle related content and everything in between. To all of my OG subscribers, 100 of you, I realize that I have reached 100 subscribers. I just want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you. I appreciate your love and your support. To all of the new subscribers joining the family, welcome. I see you. Please feel free to comment, share, like, and subscribe. I really appreciate when you support my channel. So for today's video, I'm coming at you here on my couch in my matching set. You know how I feel about a matching set. So I am just here comfortable here on the couch because I wanted to sit and talk to you about a question that I get at least once a month. And this question is, can anybody guess? Any guesses? Type in the comment what you think this question is. I can wait for you. Drum roll, please. So this question is, how did I get to Canada? Excuse me. Or how did I immigrate to Canada? And that is what I'm going to be sharing on today. So if you are interested in learning more about that process and hearing more about my experience, please keep watching. So before we get into the meat of the matter, I just have a disclaimer. I am not an immigration consultant. I repeat, I am not an immigration consultant. I do not work for the government of Canada. And as I share knowledge and share my experience, I encourage you to also take the time out to do some research on your own. With that said, now we're going to get into it. I have my iPad here with some notes. So just to answer the question plain and straight, I came to Canada as a student. So yep, I came here to Canada as a student in 2018. 2018, yes, 2018. And I have been here ever since then. So let's get into the details of it. So in 2017, I had applied to the University of Toronto to complete my master's in social work. And it's just so crazy because I actually have, this is the envelope that they sent in the mail, and just talking about it now, I remember when I opened the mail and I got the letter, I was like, this is so unreal, because I just couldn't believe that I got accepted to do a master's at the University of Toronto. If anybody knows me, knew that Canada was something that I was dreaming about, talking about for such a long time. I remember when I was at the University of Toronto, on my laptop, like my screensaver was, I think it was a Canadian flag. It was either a Canadian flag or it was a picture of the University of Toronto. That is how serious, guys. That is how dedicated I was to coming to Canada. I first visited, just some backstory. I first visited Canada with some family friends, Alan and Julie, shout out to you guys. We came here on a mission trip. We attended an evangelism conference, I believe it was, and I remember being in the car and driving past the University of Toronto, and it was like, yep, that is the university I am going to. This is where I am going to live. And I remember going back to Canada, going back to Barbados, and I was just like so pumped and so ready, because now I had seen what could be possible. I was like, yep, let us make it happen. So since then I got back to Canada, I did a lot of research in terms of which program, which university, because there are lots of universities here in Canada. As I said, I did a master's in social work, and why I chose the University of Toronto is going to be in another video, but that's not really the essence here. But yes, I remember getting this in the mail. Let me just read it to you guys. Dear Janisha Brathwaite, this was before I was married, obviously. I am delighted to inform you that the Factor Ingwin Tosh Faculty of Social Work is offering you and admission to the full-time MSW program with advanced standing field study of children and their families commencing in September 2018. I have kept this because it's just so sentimental. It's just something about looking back at where you come from and looking back at the things that you were once hoping for and just realizing that you're living in that prayer that you made in 2018, 2017. Anyways, so yes, I applied. It was a long process because I was applying as an international student and there were different dates, different deadlines for not regular students, but local students, local Canadians, Canadian citizens, Canadians in general, compared to international students. So I started the process, I would say, in about October of 2017, and I had to collect like all of my transcripts from UV, my transcripts from BCC or the Barbados Community College, and then I had to get some references from my professors, and I also had to write a personal statement to complete the application. So this took about 3 months because I believe the deadline was in December of 2017. So once I did everything, I then paid the fee, and it was just basically like a waiting game after I had submitted the application. Then I received this, the acceptance letter in February of 2018. Here's the famous letter. February of, I don't know if you guys could see, but February of 2018, I received the admission letter, and again, I was just like, God, are you not God? Like, come on, I am going to this university. Bear in mind, I did not have the finances figured out. I did not have anything figured out. All I knew was that I was going to Canada to this university. So once I got the application, once I got the offer letter, I then had, I think it was 2 months to then accept the application and pay an initial fee. I can't remember. I think like the fee was to hold the spot. So it was part of the tuition. I think it was about 500 Canadian. And then this 500 Canadian was then deducted from the overall tuition. So I had to pay that to then secure my spot to say, yes, I accept, and I will be attending come September 2018. So once I have finished that, I believe that that is where the real work on my part started. And this is where my journey of faith really developed. I am a Christian and I believe in God, and I call myself a woman of faith. So this is where I was like, okay, God, you brought me this far, so you have to help me figure out the rest of this because I don't know. So once I accepted the offer, the next step was finances. Yes, guys, it was finances. Oh, and by the way, in terms of when I was looking for schools, it is important to note that the University of Toronto is a designated learning institute. So it's also called a DLI. This just means that the university was approved by the government to host international students, and this information is important because when you're researching colleges and universities, it is important for you to know which one is recognized by the government, which would lead then to you having a postgraduate work permit in the future. I could do a whole nother video on that, but I just wanted to say it is important for you to make sure that the university or the college that you are looking at is a designated learning institute and it is approved by the government. This is important, guys. I tell you, this is important. So yes, the University of Toronto is a DLI. Anyways, so after all of that, I feel like I'm rambling. Let me just get back to where I want to be. Right, after that, it was figuring out finances. No, not finances. I would say it was figuring out my study permit. So I then had to apply on the Canadian website for a study permit to come and study in Canada. For Barbados, I did not need a visa. All that was required was a study permit. I believe that Barbados and Canada has some type of relationship where we don't need a visa, so it was just a study permit. So I applied online on the Canadian website, and I think it was about 160 Canadian dollars. That overall process, because I had to upload like proof of funding, I had to fill out some information in order to show that when I come to Canada, like I will be supported and I wouldn't have to rely on the government for any funding or anything like that. So that whole process, I would say, took about 2 to 3 weeks. The only thing that was outstanding was the proof of funds, and then this is where finances came in. So when, as I said, I didn't really know where I was getting this money from or how I was gonna get to Canada, but God is God, and I'm so grateful for Him. But I applied to the Student Revolving Loan Fund in Barbados for a loan. My loan was roughly around 65,000 Barbados, and the loan was to cover tuition and accommodation and any other expenses that it could cover. This process, guys, God bless the Student Revolving Loan Fund of Barbados, but this process was very lengthy, to be honest. There were a lot of requirements even to get the loan. So one of the requirements, I had to show the acceptance letter. So my battery had died, but I believe that I was talking about finances and the loan from Student Revolving. So I did apply for the loan, and that covered finances, that covered my tuition. It also covered my accommodation and transportation cost. In terms of the tuition, my tuition was about roughly 2,800 Canadian dollars, and I think that translates to, I can put it here on the screen. I can use Money Convert and put it on the screen, but I think it was about 30 something thousand Barbados dollars. And then before I left Barbados, I had asked Student Revolving Loan Fund to pay the tuition directly to the school, because it was just one less thing that I had to worry about. So they paid the tuition directly, and then I received the balance of the funds in a check, which I took with me, which I brought with me to Canada here. So once tuition was covered, then I had to focus on accommodations. It was a bit tricky finding accommodations from Barbados because, one, I did not really know anything about Canada in terms of renting and how that would be. I did not stay on campus for sure, because campus was just crazy expensive. So the alternative was to find a roommate and kind of split the cost with them to just make it more manageable. So I used the University of Toronto housing website, which I am so grateful for, because then it was able to connect with my first roommate here in Canada. Shout out to you, girl. If you're watching, you know who you are. You know who you are, and I am so grateful for you. But she was here already in Canada, which was a bonus, because then she was able to then go look at places, make sure that everything had checked out. It was a bit interesting because they wanted like a credit score, and I did not have a credit score for Canada because I don't live here and I'm international. I didn't live here and I was an international student, so I had to get my mom to kind of co-sign the lease with me just to make it easier. So I did that. I signed a lease for a year. In Canada, some leases are 1 year, some are 6 months, some could be 3 months. So it all depends, but I wanted to make sure that at least for this year of my study, that I would like just have a safe space. Like I would know, yep, my housing is covered, I don't have to worry about anything. So I paid, I signed the year lease and I paid rent monthly. So my rent was about $900 or $950, I believe, and the rent covered the utility bills, and it came furnished as well. So it did come with like fridge, stove, bed, furniture, couch, everything. It was like fully decked out, which I was so thankful for, because I just did not have the time to go looking for furniture or anything like that. So if you are thinking about coming to Canada, are going to study anywhere in the world, I would say consider finding a furnished place, especially like from the beginning. I just think it made the process a lot easier. And then we had to pay our own internet, so the internet was separate, and then we had to pay tenant insurance. So here in Toronto, when you're renting, you have to pay tenant insurance. So you kind of provide like a summary of all the things that you own and how much it will cost in the event that there was a fire or there was flooding or whatever it was. And this is one of the requirements to move in, that you do show them that you have tenant insurance, and that cost about $40 a month. So $900 plus the internet, which was split in half, which was like $20, and then the tenant insurance also split in half, so it came, I would say, about $950. So that was the accommodations piece. I lived in the basement when I first came, which had its pros and cons. Now I know I am not a basement girl, but for the time or for the season that I was in, it was enough, it was sufficient, and I was just thankful that I was able to get through university, not worry about housing, not worry about anything else, and just able to focus then solely on studying. Then so it covered the tuition, it covered accommodations, it also covered transportation. So as a student here in Toronto, you get like a special like transit pass or transit card. It's called the Presto card. So as a student, you get a special fee, and I think that was about maybe $112 a month, and it was unlimited. So you could catch the bus, you could catch the train how many times a month, whenever you wanted, but that was like the set fee, like $112. I believe it was a pretty long time ago, so I ain't sure if I got all the numbers correct, but if I don't, then I will put them on the screen just so that you have like an idea of like the cost. But yeah, so as I said, it covered tuition, it covered housing, and it also covered my transportation fee. While I was studying though, I was also able to get a part-time job. Now with the study permit, it allows you to work 20 hours a week off campus. But if you're working on campus, the amount of hours that you work is unlimited. And this is to ensure that you're not working more than you're studying, and that there's an even balance. So I did have a part-time job. I worked at Winners or TJX. Or TJ Maxx, sorry, while I was studying. I worked on the weekends. It was very flexible, but I just got extra cash just to cover like food and stuff like that. Oh, in terms of food, I would say your budget could be as expensive as you would want it to be, or as cheap as you would want it to be. So it all depended on like what I was into. I usually bought things in bulk, so I bought like a big bulk of toilet paper. I bought like big packets of rice, things that I knew that I would be using throughout, and that kind of helped me. I never really used to eat out or anything like that, and if I did, it was like at McDonald's or Burger King, because those were the cheapest. Because as a student, like, you are living on a budget, honestly, so you have to be able to manage your money wisely and make sure that your expenses are covered. I think an additional expense I did not talk about earlier was also clothing. So coming from Barbados, coming from hot, little BIM, and then coming into Canada. So in September when I came, it was like the fall, going into winter season, and I did not have any winter jacket or anything like that. Thankfully, my family and my church, immediate family and my church family was able to provide me with some scarves and some mitts and socks and stuff like that, which made it easier. But I still had to get like winter boots and a winter jacket. And to be honest, when I first came, I went to the thrift store and I got some good old winter jackets and winter stuff, because as I said, as a student, like, the budget was real tight. Like, I couldn't, it wasn't like, oh, like, I know in Canada living my best life. Like, it was still like, you know, you have been given this loan, and it's up to you to manage your money and manage what you spend on. So I went to the thrift store got like my winter stuff, which was really helpful, and that kind of carried me through my first winter. But now, like I said, after school and stuff, and I have a job, then I could actually afford to buy like a good proper winter jacket. But in the beginning, I don't want to make it seem like glamorous and you just out here doing your thing, but I think like the message that I want to relay to you guys is that as a student, you are on the budget and you have to manage that budget. So that is that. Let me just check my notes because I feel like I'm coming to the end. I don't know if I missed anything. Let me just check. But yeah, oh, and the last thing that I wanted to talk about was just getting settled here in Canada. So school started, I would say like the first or second week of September, and I came about the third week of August. So I had about 2-3 weeks just to kind of settle in, kind of get everything sorted out. So I had to get my like social insurance number, I had to set up a bank account, I had to set up like a new phone number, like a phone account, I had to set up the internet. So there were lots of things that I was just having to navigate and make sure that I had in place before school started. I just found having the extra time to really settle in, even though I had visited Canada once before, it was still very much new to me, and I came here by myself, so I wasn't like, it's not like my mom or any family members came while I was here. Like the initial time when I flew in, I just said goodbye to my family at the airport, and then it was just really me. So there was a lot of things that I wanted to just figure out before school started, because I know that once school has started that I might not have had the time to figure things out. So I would recommend to anybody who was looking to come to Canada or maybe study abroad, it is always best to just come before, to make sure at least a month before. If you can't come a month before, at least 2 weeks before, just so that you can settle in and kind of figure out the details of things. So for example, while I was here in the 2-3 weeks, I was able to visit my school, my university, see how to get there, figure out the transit, figure out the bus and the transportation, which side of the road, and north, south, east and west. Like it was just a whole show, a whole lot of things that I had to figure out. So I would suggest coming early. And I think like that is all in terms of what I have to share about my experience. If there was anything that I left out, if there's any other questions that you have, feel free to reach out to me. Again, I am not an immigration consultant, but I can share with you the experience that I have, and hopefully that would be able to help you to figure out your pathway in terms of what you want to do. But I hope that you found this video helpful. I hope that you would walk away just realizing that your dreams are not too big for you to accomplish. And even though I come from a little island like Barbados, and coming to Canada, moving here by myself just seems so big and grand, like I was still able to do it. So I want to encourage you that despite how big your dreams are and how big the other people feel that they are, like you can accomplish. Because I remember when I was coming here, like people were like, oh, you can't by yourself, like, oh, that must be so hard, and you know, yada yada yada. And it was just like a shock that they had that I was leaving my safety, my support net, to just come into this whole new experience by myself. Like, I mean, it was crazy looking back, but I just felt like it was something that I needed to do. Like, as I said, like Canada was always on my mind. So yeah, like as I said, if I missed anything, just feel free to send me a message. But thank you so much for watching, and see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye bye.